Mario Lopez, the Attic Man, is joining me here on Checka Pro Radio. He's our HVAC expert on the program today. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Jim. How are you?
I'm living the dream. Thanks for joining me today on the program. You know, questions come into the radio program, and I bring you on to answer them when it has to do with heating and cooling.
That's what
So,
I'm here for.
yeah, so are you ready for this question that came in?
Absolutely.
Okay. What are the signs that my HVAC system, heating and air conditioning system, may need repairs or replacement soon? So I guess what are the indications?
Yeah, that's a great question. First I would say obvious is frequent breakdowns, right? The most common component that goes out on an air conditioner, especially when it's working overtime in those hot summer days, is called a capacitor. And you can think of a capacitor like a starter, right? It's what's responsible for powering that outdoor unit up. Very, very common item that goes out. And if you notice that your outdoor unit is not running at all, or maybe it seems like it's struggling and it's making loud noises, that is definitely a red flag, and you'll want to call and get service right away. Um, Energy bills is another one. If your energy bills seem excessively high, like, hey, last month my electrical bill was 300 and now it's 450. What's going on? Well, there's a good chance that that unit might be running more than it needs to achieve the cooling or the heating in the home, and that could be a sign that you should have a professional come out and check out that system. Uneven airflow is a common one. Say you have a two-story house, usually the room above the garage is always really difficult to keep the same temperature as the rest of the house. Or maybe you have a single story home and the left side of the house is really comfortable, but the right side of the house is a 5-degree difference. Well, you probably have some ductwork issues going on in your attic or under your home. Perhaps a rodent chewed through a duct and now you're losing airflow in some place other than the living space, right? So those are all very common signs that you might have a problem and you should have a professional come and check out that unit.
Yeah, it could be something as simple as dirty coils. It could be something as simple as a pinhole, which isn't really fun, in a coil, and your refrigerant is low. So if the system's running, but for some reason it's not as comfortable in the home and it takes a lot more to cool it, or it's not cooling to 72 and it's like 77, you just can't get below 77. You're like, what's going on? There's a problem when everything's moving, everything's blowing, everything's on outside and inside. Could be a refrigerant problem, but you guys have to go out and determine what that is, but there's nothing you can't fix, right?
Absolutely. There's nothing that can't be fixed. One thing you want to keep in mind too is the age of the system. Most
Mm.
of these HVAC systems come with a 10-year warranty. So if your system's under 10 years old, you can feel confident that's going to be covered under a manufacturer warranty of some sort. But say your system is 16 years old or 18 years old,
Mhm.
right? The average lifespan of a heating and air system these days realistically is 15 to 20 years, depending on how it was installed. Is it being serviced regularly? Are you keeping up with filter changes, etc.? And, depending on what the problem is, a simple capacitor being the problem, that's a quick, easy fix. Even on an 18-year-old system, okay, you can put a new capacitor in there and buy some time. You might be able to get it through the next month or through this summer and deal with it later, right? That's a common thing that happens. But if you have something like a refrigerant leak that you mentioned,
Mm.
that's unfortunately one of the worst case scenarios. Depending where the leak is located, sometimes they're easy to find, and we can, braze that shut and do a pressure test and refill it with refrigerant and get you back up and running. Other times it's more difficult, and the price to repair could be more than it's worth. And at that point, you just have to weigh between, is it worth putting, $800 or $1,500 or whatever it is into this system, depending on the age and the history of that unit. So these are very common situations that we run across every single day, and we're able to show the homeowner different options of what they could do, give them the tools and the education they need to make an informed decision.
Absolutely. I agree with the if your units are so old and you have continuous breakdowns, you just need to replace. But the upside is the technology is getting better and better. more stages in the systems, more efficient, more technology. It ends up being smart, like all these other smart devices. It kind of can start to read what's going on, and it is more advanced. Meaning, you need more advanced technicians, but you guys have that at Attic Man, which is important. And like I always say to my listeners, be careful. Don't go with the cheapest guy, the chuck in a truck, who says, "Oh, yeah, I've been doing this for 50 years. I can fix it." That's fine. What have you learned in the past 6 months about a new system, right? Make sure insurance, license, the whole thing, and that's what you get with Attic Man, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we are insured, we're bonded, we have all the licenses and regulations in place to perform this type of work. And you're right, you have to be weary of going with a cheap repair. I've seen it so many times where an old system can be repaired. We've repaired many of them, but we have to make it clear to the homeowners up front that this can become a money pit very quickly, right? We
Mm,
compare it to an old car. Okay. So you have an old car, as getting close to 200,000 miles, whatever it is, and keeps breaking down. Okay, you take it to the shop. It's $800 to do this, get it back on the road. Okay. 3 months later, you have another problem. That's another $400. And then another problem. That's another $600, right? That happens very often in this industry, especially with older heating and air units. And by the time you add all of those repairs up, yeah, you bought some time, but you're $1,500 in. You could have put that towards upgrading the system, which in most cases is going to drop your energy bills by at least 30% thanks to new technologies in the units. You get that 10-year warranty. So for the next 10 years, you're covered if there's a problem. There's just a lot of advantages there, but it does depend on the situation. In many cases, it does make sense for the homeowners to do the repair and buy some time. Just make sure you're using a quality licensed individual
mhm.
that knows what they're doing, because you are dealing with 240-volt electrical, you're dealing with refrigerant, you're dealing with natural flammable gas coming into the home, and you just want to make sure those repairs are done correctly.
100%. I totally agree. Mario, as always, thank you for bringing your expertise to the program today. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim.